We've had our case studies, we've had our introduction to the pilot and urban regeneration from Martin and Jackie. So really, what I'm going to do is run through the actual scheme details. You've got a good gist of the pilot by now in the various towns, in particular in Westport and Youghal. The details for this scheme and the content on the slides are very much taken from those details, are available on the Heritage Council website. What we've learned, or what you've seen so far this morning, is that it's very much about local communities and businesses supported by local and national government. You saw that in Martin's slides, the kind of key ingredients he had for successful regeneration. A lot of those learnings from the HERO project, other European projects, and indeed what we learned during the pilot, about improving the quality of life for towns. I think sometimes we take towns for granted. In the Heritage Council, we do a lot of work with failed towns. They're an important lesson. It's almost a shock that towns do fail. So towns are very much, a lot of towns in Ireland are very much in a crucible at the moment, and they need support. This scheme, 2018, it aims to provide support to historic towns engaged in a programme of heritage-led regeneration. So to that end, the department and the minister has made available a fund of 1 million in capital funding. Now, that's the first difference between this scheme and the pilot. You saw some of the programmes in places like Westport where there was publicity, events and so on, the drama, the Westport story. We don't have current funding this year in this programme. It's capital. So it's about doing works. And it's available to local authorities. Local authorities are the only applicants under this scheme this year. So the private, public citizens, voluntary bodies cannot apply. The application has to come from the local authority. Now, that said, where am I? We'll stick to the script. Local authority put forward one application for funding. It's intended to support a small number of towns. So the order of funding that we've been thinking about and talking about is 100, 150 to 200,000. So think on that kind of scale, say 150,000 in terms of your actions. The applications will be assessed by a HTI National Steering Group, that's the Heritage Council and the department, and we'll have an external person as well, who will ultimately make recommendations to the board of the Heritage Council. That'll be March. Priority will be given to applications that are plan-led. Now, what we mean by that is what we learned during the pilot and from the European case studies was that, well, what we saw in places like Westport, the Westport 2000 plan was a backbone in terms of what happened, what was planned. Similarly in Youghal, the 2005 plan, and they've since revised that. And frankly, funding agencies like plans. It lets us see something in context, and it gives a degree of certainty. So what are the plans? Well, it might be a HTI framework. There aren't too many of those around, and we don't have funding to help people complete those plans this year. It could be a conservation plan, a public realm plan, eligible actions from a town centre health check, or equivalent. Make the case. If you feel you have a plan with sufficient heritage actions in it, make that case to us. Ideally, though, we'd like to see something like that, but we know that they need not be there in all cases. The reason we restricted to one application per local authority is we'd like each local authority to put their best foot forward. Think of the town that best suits this criteria. Now, we do realise that there might be a little bit of debate and discussion in local authorities as to which town you put forward, but what we'd say, I see somebody smiling there about that, put your best foot forward. Now, while local authorities are the single applicant, we expect they'll work with a range of partners in delivering HTI projects. Evidence of such partnerships, letters of support should be included. So it might be Tidy Towns, it might be the Chamber of Commerce, it might be a group like CCAD, the Youghal Socio-Economic Development Group that Aileen represents in Youghal. It might be groups like that. So show us some evidence of that. Show us letters of support, what it is that you'd like to achieve with them. And I think the key thing about heritage-led regeneration is it's not just national government, it's not just local government, it's about the broader community, and this is very much the Heritage Council's strategy in this. It's about other agents and actors working together for the benefit of our towns. And it's just about trying to find that added value, the difference between just fixing a building and sending out a signal on a street, like the Bridge House project, that sends out a strong signal or message about the quality of the built environment that is being cared for. So there's the details of the funding, 150 to 200. Application should reflect the scale of the likely funding available, and the identified action should be achievable within the allocated funding timeframe, so 2018, and I'll come back on the timeframe. This is the European Year of Cultural Heritage, so in line with our normal grant conditions, we'd like to see some public event, something that communicates, gives information. It could be a walk, it could be a tour, it could be during Heritage Week, it could be social media content or communication on it, but to send out the message about the project. So what towns are eligible? Well, almost all Irish towns are historic in origin. A town seeking to benefit from the HTI should possess significant cultural and heritage assets, a distinctive sense of place. And then what do towns include? Well, there's medieval and pre-medieval, like Kells, plantation towns, planned estate towns, and those established around local industries. We put in a figure, a minimum population of about 1,500. So 1,500 up. And really what we were at there was to just get a certain order of settlement. Now, crucially, urban centres designated as special regeneration areas under the Living City Initiative are not eligible to apply. And the issue there was, it's really Galway, Dublin, Cork, Limerick, Waterford and Kilkenny, those urban centres. We just wanted to make sure that we weren't duplicating or leaving ourselves open to charges of duplication in funding. And they're very spatially delimited areas that you'll find on the revenue website. And you could say it's also about giving a chance to the kind of second tier of towns outside of those cities. So what works are eligible? Again, I stress capital. Repair and enhance the heritage of the town in line with the programme. These kind of projects can include heritage-led regeneration projects which are designed and implemented by local authorities, projects that encourage private owners and occupiers to invest in appropriate conservation-led works and repairs, and very much the topic du jour, bringing vacant floor area in historic buildings back to use. We're open to applications that are seeking to do that, and we realise that is a tricky issue. We're open to applications that seek to do that. Projects again that address dereliction, conservation of landmark buildings. So again, think of that structure Bridge House in Westport, very prominent position on the mall. It's not just really fixing up one building, it's sending out a signal into the wider public realm. Improved maintenance and general improvements to streetscapes, like we've seen painting schemes in Youghal, Westport and in Kells. Conservation of public groundworks, which encourage investment from other sources. I think when we're arguing for the expansion of this scheme, and when we're going back to, with the department, to organisations like the Department of Finance, they'll ask us, did this encourage investment from other sources? So things that seem to show potential for that would be appreciated. And then, I suppose, what you'd expect in terms of general hygiene conditions. Grant-dated work must respect the character and special interest of individual buildings, in accordance with best practice. The advice series was mentioned already. And then all statutory requirements, so natural, archaeological and architectural heritage must be met. The application process, there it is again. One historic town, there's our population figure that I mentioned earlier, within their functional area, where a programme of suitable heritage-led regeneration projects has been identified by the local authority, working with a town partnership team or local steering group. So it's broader than just the local authority, it's partners as well. Application should set out the significance of the town and its heritage, relevant policies and objectives, the town's track record, the involvement of heritage staff, and a vision. the vision for the town. So even if you don't feel that you've embarked on this amazing programme, as demonstrable in the cases of Westport and Doyle and so on, if you feel you're starting, that you're at the start of it, and that you have a vision, make the application and tell us what you've been doing. In terms of the application, again, promote heritage-led regeneration, show us partnerships, letters of support, the extent of matching funding, and then leadership. Who will drive this? In the projects we've seen so far that have worked, Westport, Doyle, the other towns, there's been somebody really clear who has a vision and a passion for delivering this project. So show us that in the application. Who's responsible? Who will drive this? It's really important. So the assessment criteria. A demonstrable track record in caring for the historic environment would be a distinct advantage. Works should support the creation of vibrant and attractive places where people want to live, work, visit and invest. Encourage private sector and community confidence. And then we will assess under the following criteria: significance of the town and its heritage, track record, the extent to which the application fulfills the aim of the HTI and is likely to make a significant contribution to the regeneration of the town, the quality of the project proposed, and the presence of a vibrant and engaged community that will support the implementation. And in the application process, which should open on Monday when it's online, you will be asked to supply particular details on this. So in terms of housekeeping, applications will only be accepted from local authorities, one historic town. Applications must be made via the Heritage Council online grants management system, and most of you are familiar with that. It's fairly straightforward. And the HTI, the dedicated HTI application process will open on Monday. Now, the deadline is the 22nd of February. We will meet shortly thereafter to assess the applications. Now, the grants must be spent within the 2018 calendar year. Effectively, we will need final claims and reporting by Monday the 12th of November. Now, we know that that's a tight, relatively tight period. This is the first year we've embarked on this fund in a nationwide sense. The hope of the department and the Heritage Council is that this will be an annual fund, and that logically so we'd be running this in 2019, so that there will be an opportunity for a longer lead-in or tee-in up of projects for subsequent years. But they're the deadlines that we have this year. The deadline, the 22nd of February, isn't that far away. We could have allowed you more, but the flip side is then that you'd have less time to actually do the works. So we just had to make a call on that. But we will assess pretty rapidly, and the recommended list will be brought to the Heritage Council Board in early March, and the idea is that we get letters of offer out the week beginning the 12th of March. So that will give you from March to November to do projects. Yeah, that's pretty much it.